Okay, well, welcome everyone, and thank you, Helen, for getting this started and putting this together. Well, you know me, I'm Martin Coleman, and now someone said the word interference. That's what today's about. The only thing is, I started thinking about it this morning, and Helen will no doubt tell me that I should have been thinking about it 3 weeks ago. But anyway, I did give it a bit more thought this morning. So interference, we don't have any. It's gone. We fixed it. We fixed it. We don't have any interference anymore in the industry. Nobody tells us. The stats are all good. It's going down. So job done. And so what can we talk about other than that? Oh, let me see. Had a very interesting chat with a chap from a de-ice company, Walton De-ice. So you think to yourself, de-icing, what's that got to do with interference, spectrum and anything? Well, watch this space, because all being well, we'll be having a little debate in about a couple of weeks' time on this one. But it's ground stations. It was more to do with, we're not talking about ground stations anymore, because we're talking about rocket launches, Mars, Moon, Leo. Oh, a bit of MEO. And what was the other one? Yeah, Geo, that was the one. That's it, the old favourite, yes. I think we got some Geos up there, haven't we? Why am I going round in a little circle here? Because I said there was nothing to talk about. Oh, there's plenty to talk about. Ground stations, let's just think about where we might be heading. Well, one of the subjects came up then, wasn't it? Leo. Will we see interference? Do you think the noise floor will increase generally between us and Geo? Don't answer the questions yet. Let's just throw this stuff in for the minute. If 5G is a problem at C-band, 5G will be a problem at loads of other bands. Certainly KA is already starting to be a little prominent out there. But if we just stick with the C-band. So maybe we can mitigate things. And all of a sudden, when we got talking about de-ice, you think of big, large antennas, the big ones, the Goonhillies, the Madleys, and some of those lovely sites we have around the world. And Eric, I think you've got a few in your back garden, and I know that I put a few in one way and another through the EBU from 9s to 13s, which are sizable, reasonable these days. You know, they're unusual now. Well, it's probably a good job we got some of those antennas about, because one of the first things we've got to do, for instance, with 5G, is we've got to think about perhaps putting some filtering in. Well, guess what happens when you put the filter in for the out-of-band 5G? We lose 3 dBs on G over T, pretty much, give or take. Let's not quibble. Maybe even 4 dBs allowed for bits and pieces, joints and one thing and another, but certainly 3. So if you happen to have a large antenna, and the C-band often did dictate that in the early days, then you may have the advantage that you can let 3 dBs go because your antenna performance is good enough to let that. So all of a sudden, for the northern climes and maybe the deeper southern climes, you know, and various mountain ranges, de-ice becomes important, because we're starting to say we need to perhaps use those older dishes. Perhaps that'll help us overcome things. But bigger dishes mean more expense, more environmental pollution, because we're using too much electric to heat them up now in winter. Or some have even gone to gas, converted to gas to save money. 75% cheaper to use gas heating than it is electric heating for antennas. 75% on the environment, better. Then we should perhaps use hydrogen fuel. Anyway, I digress. Interference, 5G, noise from Leo. MEO and Geo I'm not so worried about. I still think that Geo will traditionally have the interference we're used to. I still think that we will see things differently because of multi-beam. You take it SES's mPower, we're going to go from single beams, various shaped beams, to thousands of beams. And, you know, it's SES's intention to put that same platform in the GEO orbit. So they have a common bus system for all satellites, whether MEO or GEO. So we're going to see differences, but I think it'll be, dare I say, relatively easy to think that interference through. That'll be more what I call traditional, the way we've all been thinking for the past 25 years plus or more. But the 5Gs and the LEOs present us with, I think, possibly the unknown. And I think that's where we're not concentrating. I think we will see more noise, more downlink noise from just the number of satellites. I mean, am I right in saying that Mr. Musk has just said he wants to use his Starship project to now launch 400 Starlinks at a time? Not 60, 400. Is that true? Did I hear that recently? Or is that so new that even I might have misheard or something, being an old person, and maybe got that wrong? But rumor has it, I think it became more than...
That was the plan a year ago. They need to deploy several thousands, and it's not economical to deploy the 60. So they are going for the mothership. Right. They want to, and right now the service is lacking continuity. They don't have a widespread. They need to deploy more to make the service much more durable. There are too far between interruptions of minutes and not seconds.
So,
and there is the OneWeb, which is coming from the small island in the ocean.
Yeah. So we have two major systems that, for better or for worse, are up there, and they're going to continue. I think even by comparison, Telesat is probably the easy one to understand. It is the least of our problems, because that's only a few hundred satellites, which is by comparison relatively easy to understand. But the others are something else. I'm not going to go into debris. It's all right, Helen, don't panic. We're not doing debris. We can do that later. We can have one of those later, anytime you like. But we'll keep to the spectrum side. If you put that much up there, Mr. Bob Potter, our lovely colleague who was with Kratos, now Coleman, keeps saying to me, and every odd chats we have from time to time, he's convinced the actual noise floor problem is one of the big issues that's going to grow because of the sheer downlink power from the sky. So you'll receive noise power, and noise and LNAs, or the front end of LNBs, shall we call it, that low noise moment, is probably the weak spot. So I see 5G as the one issue, new one, and I see general noise, and ignoring transmission stuff. I mean, when you think about LEO, there's a lot of other things going on there, but we think noise could be the one killer interference problem of the near future. So on that, there's probably enough me at the moment, but there's my thinking. So we have no interference, everything's wonderful. And there again, when you really look at it, perhaps we're heading for a bit of a new era, a new interference. It doesn't mean the traditional one's gone away. I was kidding there. I know the truth. It hasn't gone away. But gentlemen, ladies, I do see a problem. It's the same as the man from Walton said. Nobody's talking about the ground anymore. Everybody's talking about space. It's time ground infrastructure was put right up there in front, because it's the ground that controls what is in space. Ground is where we start and finish. Space is just another piece of cable in the sky. That's all it is. You know, however smart it gets. You know, let's not worry about clouds and one thing and another and all the clever things you could do up there. Smart cable, call it smart cable, whatever. But think about it. The ground infrastructure is not being cared for, thought about, or even balanced. Spectrum, no balance at all. It's a war. It always has been for what, I don't know, since I started, before even I started running IRG as the old sewage, we were always at it from what, 2006, 7-ish. We've been at it, Helen. I think generally that's when you and I sort of got into this more than others. That's when we sort of started. We know our colleagues have been doing this since what? People like Nigel Smith from MITRE, that's what, 1995 when they started thinking about interference properly. So it's for some, it's been a long time. So I think we have some real problems here, and it's on the ground that we need to start focusing. It's ground that gets affected. It's ground where a lot of the trouble starts. It's not necessarily the satellites. That's just a technology to transmit a signal from one place to another. It's no different to a piece of fiber, to be honest, but it gives us grief. So, open floor, comments, thoughts. Oh, is it what they do? What do they say, Miss Stephen Fry? Discuss. There you go. Isn't that the one you do? Discuss.